The 17th of May 2022 was the day that Apex Legends Mobile launched globally, being available for everyone to enjoy across the world. The events that followed from this launch day are ones of joy, sadness, and betrayal. The hype behind Apex Legends Mobile started long before the game was globally launched. Once it was released as a beta, different creators were making multiple videos showcasing the game to their respective communities, collectively gaining millions of views in the process. Everyone was excited and eagerly waiting for the global launch because the game seemed so good in beta and they just couldn't wait to finally get their hands on it. So when the game finally launched in May 22, everyone loved it and couldn't stop playing. You had creators racing for the #1 spot in the Predator rank, with Ottr coming out on top in the challenge, and the community loved the game because of its unique movement and fast-paced gameplay. Apex Mobile viewership was at an all-time high, with creators gaining millions of views on their videos. One of the key things with Apex Mobile was it was very different from the HD version of the game. It had a different UI, different ranked system, exclusive legends, a better firing range, exclusive events, faster movement, and of course, legend perks, which is something HD players had requested for a long time. Although the perks on mobile weren't very balanced, they still made the game feel dynamic and fun. Also, the exclusive legends like Fade were fan favorites and had a very high pick rate. It seemed like Respawn had done it again on mobile, but though, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Because just a few weeks after the global launch, the facade began to fall as layers of issues were beginning to unfold. The first one being the cheater problem in higher ranks. It was crazy out there. Some people developed hacks for Apex Mobile within just weeks of the game's launch, and the anti-cheat was basically non-existent. This caused prominent players to begin to lose their loyalty to Apex Legends. It also didn't help that there was a huge issue with bots being in the game, even in the ranked matches. The kills didn't feel rewarding to the players, and some players who came from other mobile games where there were no bots were disappointed and began to slowly leave the game. What made this issue worse was when a new movement bug called Infinite Bunny Hop was discovered. This movement bug allowed you to slide jump continuously and gain momentum with every slide. With this bug, every legend could move faster than a stimmed Octane and even outrun the train at full speed. This made finishing gunfights very tedious, as you would kill 2 members of a squad and then you would have to chase that last member racing across the map at 100 miles per hour. Players felt that there was no genuine progress in the game. If they won a game, it was because they fought bots, and if they lost a game, it was because of a movement bug or a cheater. Some players who had participated in the beta were surprised to find this bug in the game, as it was non-existent during the beta test. This whole fiasco sparked outrage on Twitter, with large content creators calling for the game to be fixed and the community supporting them. But the developers weren't doing anything about it. In fact, there was radio silence on all of the issues going on at the time. It was like the players were talking to a wall. This marked the first crack in the walls of Apex Mobile. Eventually, some of the more notable content creators in the game started slowly leaving the game, with Ottr, the first Predator, being the first one to go. It only got worse because there wasn't much encouragement for Apex Mobile in terms of sponsorships, and it was a serious communication issue between Apex and the players globally. This all caused a lack of interest in Apex Legends Mobile and a decline in viewership. 2 other issues that plagued Apex Legends Mobile were the serious lack of optimization and the scammy nature of the in-game store system. If you don't know by now, over 65% of the mobile gaming market is dominated by the low-end devices. That's literally more than half the market. And any game that would want to succeed would have to make adjustments in order to gain some of that audience. But Apex Mobile didn't seem to do enough optimization. The game was laggy and capped at 60 frames per second even for the high-end tablets. Lower-end devices could barely play the game at 25 FPS, and as such, Apex lost a huge percentage of that audience. Players weren't willing to stick around a laggy mess and simply went back to their optimized games like PUBG Mobile Lite, which was a well-optimized version of PUBG just for low-end devices. But although it split the player base, at the very least, it's better than not being able to play at all. Speaking of splitting player bases, Apex Mobile's had too many damn playlists. The game had 12 playlists active at a time, and normally you would think all of these choices are good, but in this case, it was too much. There were 6 different modes, and you could play either in a first-person playlist or a third-person playlist, adding up to 12. And that is just too many choices for players to make, and choosing one over the other just hurts the other. It even got to the point where players were requesting for the third-person playlist to be removed as it is not in the main game. and it makes bots more common. The argument was that if there was no third-person playlist, some of those players from the third-person playlist would move over to the first-person playlist, which would boost the lobby sizes and make the queues better. But EA was beginning to show its true intentions with the game, which was to make as much money as possible while seemingly doing as little as possible. To many, the lucky draws and in-app purchases felt scammy and were borderline exploitative. You get duplicates in the crafter and very unlucky lucky draws. Fans hoped that all of these issues would be fixed with Season 2, but they were right and they were wrong at the same time. Because Season 2 of Apex Legends Mobile is what many call the death of Apex Mobile. Before the update, various content creators and members of the community were hyping up Season 2, claiming that it would be the solution to all of their problems. They said because they were getting a new map called Kings Canyon with brand new points of interest different from Apex HD, along a new mobile exclusive legend called Rhapsody, and they were all expecting that this would be able to hold player interest. And in one way, they were right, because in terms of bugs like the infinite bunny hop being fixed, the reality was that it just wasn't enough, as there were a lot of underlying issues to come. The Kings Canyon map plan wasn't very good, as most players greatly disliked the map for being boring and inconsistent, as you would take your first contest but not be able to find teams for ages. This issue was exacerbated by bots being in the game and just running around with no mind of their own. Endgames were very rare and the games weren't really fulfilling. Also, there were a lot of bugged locations on the map. It was safe to say that everyone preferred World's Edge over Kings Canyon. But this was only the beginning of the issues with Season 2. During the season, there were a lot of bugs that harmed the player experience, most notably the infamous Loba glitch. And of course, it's all because of Loba. Always Loba. Using the Loba glitch, players could glitch into rocks using Loba's bracelet and then shoot through them while remaining invincible and invisible to opposing players. There was nothing you could do but run and hope that the zone pulls away from them. Loba mains went as far as to abuse this bug and get Apex Predator. It was an infuriating experience for the opponents involved and another embarrassing display from the Apex Mobile team, as it took them the entire season to completely fix this game-breaking bug. And this Loba glitch era actually gave birth to a clan called the Apex Campers. The leader of this clan was a guy called I Camp for Points, and he was just built different. He had perfected the art of the rat so much that he hit #1 Predator by just ratting and barely doing any damage. While this was a display of I Camp for Points' insane skill, it also highlighted a major problem with the ranked system. No one should be able to go all the way from bronze to #1 Predator strictly from ratting and consistently getting placement points for second or third place. Even his Watson wouldn't do that. And ranked players in the Apex Mobile community were a bit divided on this issue. Some players believed it was unfair that he could do that just by playing more long, boring hours than others, while others respected his dedication, claiming that there was nothing wrong with the ranked system. But they could all agree on the fact that more rank points should be given to the high-kill games. At that point, even if you got a 20 bomb in pred lobbies, you would only get 80 RP max, and if you unfortunately died off drop, you would lose more than 100 RP. This, coupled with server assignment issues, meant that you were more likely to die off drop as you would get crazy ping spikes. Because on mobile, you cannot select the server region you want to play from. Instead, you are at the mercy of whatever server Apex puts you on. Remember, this is still Season 2 of Apex Mobile, so we have to mention another game-breaking movement bug, namely jump spam. With this bug, players could spam the jump button infinitely while moving from the left to the right without jump fatigue or an ADS bullet spread penalty. This meant that players could jump spam while keeping 100% accuracy on gunshots. It got so bad that it even earned the nickname of Kangaroo Movement. This Kangaroo Movement was basically responsible for the death of the casual player base on Apex Mobile. Newer players felt that they couldn't keep up with the game mechanics and just ended up quitting the game entirely. Some stayed, holding out hope that Season 3 would fix these problems with the game, even though that season ended up being delayed even more, with Season 2 having 3 parts instead of 2, which were Season 2, 2.5, and 2.75. That being said, Season 2.75 did come with a new battle pass, hopefully to keep the players engaged for a little while longer. While all of this was happening, the game was still not getting the promotional love that it deserved. Instead, Apex Mobile was pushing out outrageous ads like this one on TikTok. They would rather pay for ads like that than to sponsored, competent creators who could make captivating ads for them. Some creators would even do it for free. But no, it seemed like they would rather pay for Dasani water than drink fresh, clean water. On the Japanese side of things, it was a different story. There was actually a lot of community support. They hosted IRL events promoting the game and supported Japanese creators, had giveaways for the community, and hosted tournaments fully funded by EA. This was surprising to the rest of the world because there wasn't really much support from EA to the player base. However, their focus did make sense because a large majority of their market was in Japan and Asia in general. Season 3 of Apex Mobile finally came, and with it came nostalgic joy. World's Edge was back, baby, this time in an hourly map rotation system together with Kings Canyon. Aside from the return of a great map, Season 3 had a lot going for it. A new mobile experience, Heirloom for Fade, was released, which you actually could get for free, and on top of that, a new legend Ash came to the game. But most importantly, Kangaroo Movement and the Loba glitch had finally been patched out. For jump spam, the jump fatigue and bullet speed penalty was finally introduced, making the game way more enjoyable. As for the Loba glitch, all the spots had basically been patched out. Season 3 gave the game a new lease on life. It was a breath of fresh air for the players. It seemed like it was all going well for Apex Mobile, as they were finally listening to the cries of the community. But just like with a Russian nesting doll, there are many layers to this madness. With the nerfing of all these bugs came the revelation of other prominent issues with the game. New bugs and exploits were being found on the daily, and some legends were ruining the balance of the game entirely. It was like turning page after page after page, and you would find bug after problem after exploit, and for Apex Mobile, it had always been the same story. Although the game was in a better state than it was before, the player base was continually dwindling. Campers were still a problem, this time with multiple campers in the top 20 Predator, and the hackers had came back in full force. In Predator lobbies, the hackers would fly around and kill the entire lobby within 4 minutes. They were even flying around in pubs. You could go to play ranked, get cheated on, get tilted, go play pubs, and get cheated on again. The cheaters weren't getting banned fast enough, and all of the fun of the game was slowly being sucked away. On top of that, movement mechanics were still OP, and the skill gap was ever increasing. From the extreme airstrafe to the instant slide jump, everything was stacked against the casuals of the game. The walls of Apex Mobile seemed to be cracking over and over again. In the dark, the community needed hope, and it was finally provided by some leakers. Leakers provided information that would get the community hyped once more. Horizon, Valk, and Olympus were all coming in the Season 4 of Apex Legends Mobile, alongside a lot of nerfs and fixes for the game. The community drank from the cup of hope one last time, with everyone saying this was a make-or-break season for Apex Legends Mobile. The week of the update finally came along in the month of January 2023, but something was horribly wrong, because the seasonal store showed the extension of the season by 1 more month. Players were devastated, with everyone tearing their hair out, not wanting to touch Kings Canyon anymore. The hope that had been taken away from them, that they had once again found, had been taken away from them once again. Some prominent players were urging the community to hold on. Apparently, the game was delayed due to an absurd amount of bugs that needed to be fixed for the release of the updates. Again, this was a huge disappointment for the Apex Mobile players. And finally, the walls of the Apex Mobile fell. On January 31st the same year, EA would announce something that would destroy the spirits of players, developers, and the entire community. They announced that the game would be permanently shut down in 90 days on the 1st of May 2023. And the players who had spent money on the game would not be getting a refund for their in-app purchases. Even though Apex Mobile had made $40 million, once you compare it to the other major IPs in the space that make $40 million in a single month, it was really just chump change. For EA, Apex Legends Mobile wasn't making them enough money, and it was costing more to fix broken issues in the game. So they decided to axe Apex Mobile. But to make matters worse, there was even more shock and disappointment. According to inside sources, the developers from Apex Mobile themselves had no idea that they were getting axed until the same day. They found out just like the rest of us. Some players blamed EA for hiring Tencent to develop Apex Mobile, as they had a bad reputation within the mobile gaming space. Others blamed the content creators for complaining too much, while others even believed that the lack of a mobile ALGS was the real problem. Speaking of content creators, a lot of prominent creators who had made a name for themselves on Apex Mobile, like Ken Strafes, Kaislo, and Isios, were heartbroken as they are left in limbo, wondering which game they shall take their loyal audiences to. Other creators who didn't put as much stock in Apex were dunking on Apex Mobile on Twitter, as well as the game's competitors, urging players to move on to their own games. Let's talk about the possible future of Apex Mobile. The scheduled Season 4 update will still be going on ahead, and the Battle Pass will thankfully be free because of the in-game purchases being disabled. At EA's yearly earnings call, they discussed their reasoning for axing the game. They claimed that they were new to the mobile market, and they didn't anticipate that Apex Mobile wasn't going to cater to the casuals. They said that they would be looking into reimagining the Apex experience on mobile with the aim of reaching a broader audience. Some players decided to hold on their last dose of copium, and others decided to not believe it at all. Regardless of what EA said, it's clear that enough love wasn't given to the game on a global scale. It had so much potential, but every season it seemed like there always was that one thing or the other holding the game back from being successful. And in just 1 year, the game was shut down. I don't know whether EA will make good on their promises or not, but I do have a question for you. If we don't hit the KPIs, the deadlines, the player base, the views, are we going to see a similar fate with Apex HD? We will simply have to wait and see. And speaking of things being removed, check out the video on the screen to learn more about the removal of arenas. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.